So again, thank you everybody for being here today. If you do not know who I am or we have not been introduced yet, my name is Jessica Simerson, and I'm the Career Service Specialist for Adult Education. What that means is that I'm here to help you figure out what you want to do after you earn your GED and then help you on that path. So if you're just looking to get a job, I can help you with your resume or with interview practice or whatever you need with that. If you are looking at going to college, I can help you with the college application process, the financial aid process. So those are the kind of things that I'm here for. So you will, as you're going through your program, receive some emails from me just to set up meetings. Or if you ever want to meet with me, you can always reach out and we can schedule a time to do that. So my contact information is going to be at the end of the presentation here. So you'll see that then. I will go ahead and move on to our next slide. So I want to do a little check-in with everyone this morning. So I call this our mental wellness check-in, and there's a spectrum here on the screen of mental wellness. So you could be anywhere from drowning to thriving. And so I want you to just take a minute and think about where you feel like you fall on this spectrum. And we can fall at different places of this spectrum on different days and at different times. So just think about that. And if you would like to share, you can have your instructor type that into the chat. Or if instructors, if you want to unmute yourself and share what your students are saying of where they're falling on this spectrum, I'd be happy to hear any of that from you this morning. Anybody wanting to share where they feel like they fall on the spectrum? Maybe you're sharing it in your classroom. So the importance of this activity is not for me to be in your business. It is more just for you to be aware of where you're at and thinking about ways that maybe you can move to that next level. So how can we move from surviving to performing or from struggling to surviving? There are different things that we can do to invest in our mental health, and it's just something to be aware of. Angelica is performing. I love that from Miss Hicks' class. Great, Angelica. Sometimes I get a lot of struggling and surviving is where a lot of our students feel like they're at, and that's okay. It's more about just knowing where you are and thinking about how you can get to maybe that next level. And that can be different for every person. One thing that I have to do is get out in nature. I find that that helps my mental health. To get out and just be in the outdoors sometimes is the best thing for me. So every person will find what works for them. It might be meditation, maybe you like to read, maybe you just like to go to the gym, maybe there's something else that you enjoy doing that's going to help your mental health. And that's what we want to make sure we're being aware of. I see that the Coweta AM class joined us. Thank you for being here. If you could please type into the chat the names of your students that are with us
Hello.
this morning. Good morning. So we're just getting started. You haven't missed anything super important yet. We're just doing our little mental wellness check-in. So thanks again, everybody, for being here. And then we're going to continue on. So, if you've never heard of Aretha Franklin before, I'm going to give you a little bit of inspiration from her. She talks about respect. So, our topic today is respect in the workplace, and we're going to talk about what that means. So, a quote from Miss Franklin is, "We all require and want respect, man or woman, black or white. It's our basic human right." And if you have ever heard a song from Miss Franklin before, there's one that she sings, and it goes, RESPCT, find out what it means to me. So that is what we're going to talk about this morning is respect and what that means in the workplace. So just a little fun to get us started this morning with a little quote from Miss Aretha Franklin. So what we want to talk about is how we show respect in the workplace. So the quote here on the screen is, when you show respect, you grow respect. So that is the same in the workplace as it is in the classroom, as it is in your daily life. When you show people respect, then you earn their respect. So we're going to talk about the different letters of that word respect and what some of those soft skills are that we can show in the workplace. So a soft skill is something that we don't necessarily have to go to school to learn. It's something that we can learn over time as we grow and develop professionally. So the letters here on the screen, so our first R is for reliability, then empathy, self-awareness, problem solving, ethics, communication, and teamwork. So we're going to go through each of these different words and talk about what they mean and what they can look like in the workplace. So we're going to start with reliability. So we've got a definition for that here on the screen. And so it's being able to be trusted to do what is expected or has been promised. So when you take a job, you are going to be expected to perform some duties. And so reliability is showing up consistently on time to do those duties, and your employer not having to look over your shoulder to make sure you're getting your work done. They can trust that you're going to do what you need to do each day and that you're going to show up and be consistent in that. So you can show respect for your employer and for the job that you're doing by being reliable. And over time, your employer is going to recognize that consistency. And when they get ready to offer a promotion or have new jobs coming, you're going to be the first person that they think of to offer that opportunity to, because you've been reliable and consistent over your time with that company. It's the same way with class. When you come to class and you show up, your teachers appreciate that. And you're going to learn a lot quicker and go through our program a lot faster if you're reliable and consistent in your attendance. So it translates from your classroom into the workforce as well. And if you have any questions while we're going through, please ask your instructor to type those into the chat, and we will make sure that we get to all of our questions before we finish for the day. So we're going to move on to our next slide. So our next word is empathy. So what does empathy look like? So that is understanding the situation that another person is in. So you can show empathy in the workplace to your customers and to your coworkers. So some statements in customer service that we can use to show empathy to our customers are things like, I'm sorry you're having this problem, or that would frustrate me too. I actually was just on a call earlier today with a student who was having some issues, and we went through their situation and kind of talked about what they were experiencing. And I said, I'm so sorry you're experiencing that. I'm going to do some research and see what I can find out, but I would be frustrated too. So I understand where you're coming from with this. So a lot of times with customers, when they're upset, the main thing that they need to hear is that you're hearing what they're saying. So just telling them, I understand the situation and I see what you're telling me and how upsetting that is. Let me see if I can find a solution to that problem for you. Or repeating back what that person has said to you and saying, am I understanding correctly that this is what you need, or that this was the situation? And that helps them to know that you are listening and that you're trying to help solve that problem. So showing empathy to customers and to coworkers is another way that we can show respect to our employers. So we also have coworkers as we're in the workforce, just like you have classmates in your classroom, and we all have different stories and we all have different things in our lives that might be frustrating or difficult. And it's important that we find ways to be empathetic to one another in the workplace as well as in our classroom and in our daily life. So if your coworker is going through something and they're experiencing a hard time at home or they have some issue, being empathetic with them as well as being empathetic with your customer is important and is another way that you can show respect to your employer and to your coworkers. All right, and then I did see our LaGrange campus joined us. Thanks for being here, y'all. Teachers, please enter your students' names in the chat for me if you can, or just send me an email of the names of your students that are participating today so we can make sure that they get attendance credit. So our next letter that we want to talk about is self-awareness. So being aware, so a little bit like we talked about at the beginning with our mental wellness check-in, being aware of what you're bringing into your workplace is important. So when you get to work in the morning, you may need to plan some extra time so that you have a moment to maybe sit in your car before you go in and just assess how you're feeling before you go into your workplace. To know, okay, I've had some stuff going on at home and I need to leave that here in the car and go into my workplace with positivity and doing the best that I can for my employer, for my customers, for my coworkers. And if there's an issue that you're experiencing, communicate that with your supervisor and let them know, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. I might not be able to perform at the highest level today. And it's not that I don't want to be here or that I'm not committed to my job, but I have some things going on. And I just want to let you know that that may be where my mind is throughout the day. And your supervisor might say, hey, why don't you take the day off? Or they might say, okay, I appreciate you telling me that. Maybe we can change some of your duties around today to work around what you need. So self-awareness is just understanding where you are. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What are you doing? And how that's going to have an impact on others. So just being aware of what you're bringing into your workspace each day. We've probably all experienced in our lives working with someone who's extremely negative. And all you ever hear is the negative about how they're doing, the negative about how they don't enjoy their job or how they're frustrated with the customers or whatever it might be. But if they bring negativity into that workspace every day, that's probably someone that you don't really want to be around a lot of the time. So try to bring that positivity into your workplace and leave the negative wherever it came from. Try to be a positive person on and in bringing that into your environment. So another word that we can show respect is problem solving. I don't know if anybody knows this guy on the screen here, but he says, yo, if there's a problem, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. I don't know if any of y'all are old enough to remember that song or not, but this is another one. If, in case you can't tell, I think in songs. So I sing a lot. That's how my brain works. I know that works for me. I thought maybe it would work for some of you. So sharing a little bit of these songs that'll maybe help some of that stick with you. So when you're encountering a problem in the workplace, think about Vanilla Ice here and that you should try to find a solution to that problem. So if there's an issue happening in your workplace, try to figure out how to solve that and then take your solution to your supervisor. You may not always be able to implement that solution, but your supervisor is going to respect that you are at least trying to solve it and that you're bringing some suggestion to them and not just bringing a problem. So instead of just bringing a problem, bring a solution that you propose to that as well. Your employer is going to respect that and see that and know that over time as well. And again, when it comes to that time of promotions or job openings, they're going to think about you and be like, that person was always willing to bring a solution to the problem. And they may be able to offer you something as you go down the road. So thinking about problem solving and that's another way you can show respect to your employer. So next one is ethics. So it's important that we act ethically in the workplace and remember what our values are as a person and implementing that when we're at work. So you always want to be fair, right? And people always like to talk about, well, that's not fair. Unfortunately, things not being fair is a part of life, but if we can bring that as much as possible into our workplace and treat others the way we want to be treated, going back to just those basic things, right? Our employers are going to see that and understand that we're respecting them through being ethical in the way that we treat others, in the way that we treat customers, in the way that we treat coworkers. So remembering our ethics and our values and bringing those into our workplace as well. So another way we can show respect is through communication. So we communicate in a lot of different ways, and it's more than just the words that we use, right? So there's verbal communication, there's nonverbal communication, there's visual communication, and there's written communication. So when we're at work, we have to remember all of these different ways, and especially if we're in a customer service environment where we are face to face with customers, we have to be aware of what our face is doing, right? I have a hard time with that sometimes, that my face will be saying something that my words are not saying. So making sure that those two things are the same, right? And it does make a difference if you're on the phone and you're doing customer service. If you smile while you're talking, your voice sounds different. You can see it. I kind of just demonstrated it there. So talking like this is very different than talking like this. And you can hear that in someone's voice. So thinking about the different ways that you can communicate verbally, non-verbally, visually, and written. So making sure also that your communication is clear, that your customer or your coworker understands what you're saying. Sometimes in different fields, we have vocabulary that people don't understand. So in higher education, in the college, we have different words that we use, like FAFSA and banner and blackboard and all of these things that our customers, our students may not be familiar with, right? When you first started in this program, you might have heard some words that you were like, I don't even know what that means. So making sure that we're communicating where our customer or the person that we're speaking with can understand what we're saying, that they understand the vocabulary or the terminology that we're using in that moment. So when you're talking with the customer, make sure that you're explaining things in ways that they can understand and not necessarily using that industry jargon or those words that are appropriate more maybe when you're in a meeting with your supervisor. That might not be the appropriate words to use when you're talking with a customer. So as you're effectively communicating, that's another way to be respectful in the workplace. All right, so we're on our last letter. So respect through teamwork. So I've always loved this phrase of teamwork makes the dream work. And it's so true. No matter where you work, you're going to be a part of a team, and you're going to need every person on your team to make your team successful. So we have to be flexible and willing to do what we need to do in order to make our team, our company, our business successful. Some days I'm doing presentations like this with you guys, and other days I might be helping with orientation, or I might be at a community event or doing something else that's going to help our team be successful. And when you go into the workplace, that flexibility is so important to say, okay, I know this is not my job, but I can see that it needs to be done, and it's something I have the capability to do. So I'm going to do that and take care of this so that it's not pushed off onto someone else. So you're going to have your time to shine and do what you do best, but allow others to do that as well. So don't feel like you always have to be doing all of the things, making sure that you're giving others on your team that opportunity to shine as well. So, what did Aretha say again? She said, what you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All I'm asking is for a little respect. That's what Aretha said. And our employers say the same thing to us. They have what we want and what we need, which is a job and a paycheck, right? And so in return, what they're asking for is that respect from us. All of those words that we talked about, empathy, reliability. All of these things are what our employers need from us so that we are showing respect to them. So, if anybody wants to answer any of these questions for me, you can have your instructor type that into the chat, or we can come off of mute and share if anybody would like to answer any of these questions. So, how can you show respect to your employer? What's maybe your biggest takeaway from today? Or can you remember what RESPECT stands for? So if anybody would like to share, or if you have any questions, please put those in the chat and let me know. And I'll give everybody a minute. We'll hang out on this slide for a little bit. Teachers, if you have not already, please do type in the names of your students into the chat so that we can count their attendance, or you can send me an email with those as well. So I'm keeping an eye on the chat. Any questions, or anybody want to share your answers to these questions? Yes, Coweta, we show respect to our employers by showing up on time and daily. That is reliability. That was our first letter. So we can show respect to our employers by being reliable, consistently showing up on time each day according to your schedule that you've worked out with your employer. Yes, absolutely. Anybody else want to share any answers to these questions? Empathy is a new word. Okay. So we need to learn about empathy and what that means and what that looks like. So being able to understand where people are coming from, right? And their situation and why they might be frustrated if you're in a customer service situation. So being empathetic with our customers and also with our coworkers, and showing, I like to say, showing grace and just being able to be with people when they're having a frustrated day. We all have our days when work is not where we want to be, or if we're frustrated with something that's going on at home, it may be harder. So, reliability and empathy and showing those things to each other, absolutely. All right, we're going to move on to our next slide. So, here is a little survey. If you have your cell phones and you want to pull those out, if you open up your camera app and you hover over that QR code, it should pop up a little, excuse me, a little link for you to complete a survey. It's a real short one, just getting your feedback on how this workshop went, what you would maybe like to see in the future and going forward. I'm trying to make sure that I do these workshops on things that you're interested in or things that we feel like you need as you move forward. So I'm going to test it and see if it works from my phone. So you can zoom in on that QR code and it pops up a little link there for you and you can go in. So Raina and Ms. Hicks' classes I really like about the self-awareness, feelings, thinking, and doing, right? So just being aware of what you're bringing into that environment at work, and you know how it feels when there's someone else that brings something heavy to your workplace, right? Or they bring in that negativity. So trying to be aware of yourself and what you're bringing into that situation is important too. Yeah, thanks for sharing. So we'll leave the survey up for just a minute. If anybody else has anything you want to share or any questions. Yes, Erica from Ms. Hicks' class, we will share this presentation. I do speak fast, so I will make sure this presentation goes to Ms. Hicks so that she can share that. We should be able to, your instructor should be able to download it from here, but I can send it out and I am recording this as well. And I will upload it to a YouTube account and I'll send that out to your instructor as well. So we'll make sure that that gets to you so that you can translate it later and go back and rewatch if you need to. All right, we're going to move on. So I talked a little bit about at the beginning what my role is and what I do. As you're going through this GED program, you're going to receive emails as you complete 2 sections, 3 sections, and then your final section of your GED or HiSET. Basically, I'm just reaching out to say, can we meet? Can we make a plan? Because we want to talk about what your goals are so that when you complete this program, you're ready to move straight on into your next thing. We also have an application fee waiver that's available for you if you choose to go on to West Georgia Tech to continue your education. And I'm happy to assist you with college application, job search, or just figuring out what your career goals are if you're not sure about that. So I mentioned at the beginning that I'd share my contact information, so that is what's listed here. You are always welcome to reach out to me at any time. You don't have to wait until you're done with 2 sections of your GED for us to make an appointment or to talk about what your goals are. So send me an email. You can call. That's my office number there. I also have my work cell phone number there, and you can text that cell phone number if you choose to. If you communicate better that way. So you have all of those options to reach out to me. I do try to get out to each campus once a month to be there to do workshops and then also to meet with you guys. So feel free to reach out and we can schedule a day and time to meet in person. We can also talk over the phone or email back and forth if you're more comfortable that way. We can also do a virtual meeting, so something like this where we can see each other without having to be in the same physical location. So feel free to reach out to me if there's any questions that you have or if there's anything that I can help you with. So thanks again, everyone, for being here today. We are so proud of each of you for the progress that you're making and for the effort that you're putting forth in this program. You're showing respect to your teacher every day when you show up to class, and you're making that effort to try to learn and to try to move forward in your program. So we're so proud of you for being here and for making this effort. And we see the respect that you're showing us when you do that. So thank you all so much again for being here with me today. Thank you teachers for taking some time out of your schedules to allow me to speak with your students and give them this information. If any of you have questions, please let me know. Like I said, I will send out this presentation as well as the recording for the presentation as soon as I have that ready, and you are free to share that with any of your students as they need it. And if anyone has any further questions, please feel free to type those into chat. Thank you so much for the compliment on my singing voice. I do enjoy singing, so I thought it'd be a little bit of a fun way to get this information out to you to kind of keep things a little bit interesting. So I enjoy that for sure. So thank you so much. And if you don't have questions or don't need any additional information for now, then I am finished with you for today, and you can log out from here and go back to class and finish out the rest of your day. Thank you all again so much for being here and showing me respect by showing up to this workshop virtually with us today. And if you have questions, again, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be happy to help you however I can. And if that is everything, you guys can log out. Have a great rest of your day, and then don't forget to follow up with me if you need anything else. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See you next time.
All right.